Hi there, welcome or welcome back. My name is Alexandra and I am an art therapist in training. I'm currently working at Project Create as an assistant teaching artist, and Project Create is a community-based nonprofit based out of the heart of Washington, D.C. that promotes creative youth development through arts education and enrichment. So today I'm here to share an art project idea for you guys. Looking back on my first video that I put out, which you can find on the Project Create YouTube, about found objects and using found objects to create artwork, I thought it would be really fun to continue kind of using that theme. So in this week's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can create a mandala using found objects from nature. So rocks, flowers, leaves, anything that you can sort of find outside. So a mandala, if you're wondering, has a lot of meanings in different cultures, but basically it is a circle that represents wholeness. And you can put anything inside of this circle. The circle sort of serves as a container or as a holding space for what is inside. Get into a lot of the details on who can do the project, what the project involves, and that kind of a thing. I just wanted to talk a little bit more, like I did in my first video, about the history of found objects and using parts of nature to be able to create artwork. So there's this famous artist, and his name is Andy Goldsworthy. And he is an artist who uses nature to create really beautiful sculptures and art projects. He uses leaves, he'll use tree branches, and parts of wood sometimes. He will also use rocks. And he really places them in a specific pattern to create something that's really beautiful. And something that's interesting about him is he will often leave his sculptures out in nature and see how they change over time. So for example, if you leave a pile of rocks sitting in a very specific direction, the next day you might come back and they might maybe the wind blew it away, maybe, some birds jumped on it or something like that, and the rocks might have kind of moved around. Especially if you're working with leaves, leaves will tend to move over time. And Andy Goldsworthy was really interested in that change and how, next week and the week before that are going to be different, and nature sort of just plays itself out naturally. I have kind of talked a little bit about Andy Goldsworthy and using nature to create artwork, how you don't really just need to use, colored pencils, markers, paints, that kind of a thing to create artwork. You can really use anything and get creative with it. I'm going to go ahead and start to get into the details of this project. So children of any ages, as well as adults, can do this project. I just recommend, if you are a teenager or a kid, that you do have adult supervision. So for the very first part of this project, I would like to invite you to go outside on a walk. Bring an adult with you, of course. And just collect anything that interests you. On this walk, try to be very mindful and sort of present in the moment is what mindful means. Just being there, not playing music in your headphones, just kind of noticing, any sounds that you're hearing, if there are birds chirping, noticing how you're feeling, noticing the weather. Is it really hot out? Is it a little bit humid? Is it cold? And that kind of a thing. And as you're walking, try to pay attention to what you're seeing outside. Are there people walking their dogs? Are there a lot of flowers in your neighborhood? Are there leaves on the floor? And that kind of a thing. And anything that you notice from nature, if you find, some leaves on the floor, some flowers, some flower petals, or maybe wildflowers that you can pick, please don't go into your neighbors' yards and pick their flowers unless you do know them and you have their permission to do that. Just be careful with it. So when I went on my walk, I had a neighbor who has really pretty flowers, but I didn't want to take them from their yard, obviously. So I noticed, though, that on the sidewalk, there were a couple flower petals that had just fallen off of their flowers. So anything like that you can take. some leaves that have fallen off of a tree, anything of that sort you can use. And with this, you know, really collect anything that interests you. Using bright colors will be really interesting for this. So if you see, you know, colorful leaves, maybe brown or orange leaves, this project would be awesome to do in the fall. I would love to try that. You know, all the orange and red leaves and that kind of a thing. Walk, just collect as many things as you like or as few. I tried to just do a handful. I basically just picked as many things as I could hold in my two hands. So these are some of the leaves that I picked, and then I did find a few more flower petals, some white ones, and I found a couple of different red and orange leaves. I was happy to find those. I didn't think that I would. Oops. Dropped one of them on the floor. And then I found a little flower that had fallen off. So after you have chosen your flowers, leaves, rocks, twigs, that kind of a thing that you want to use, you can either set this up outside if you do want it to be something that, you know, slowly the wind blows away, or maybe it gets rained on, and just kind of see what it looks like when you check back in a couple of hours later. You can work outside. I actually wanted to film this video outside, but it is pretty gloomy. It looks like it's gonna rain, so I didn't want to do that for right now. Or if you are working inside, what you can do is get a piece of paper, and I'm going to draw a circle just to kind of have an outline of where I want to put the flowers and leaves. I'm just gonna draw a circle. It does not have to be perfect. I'm just gonna make it as big or as small as I want it. You get the idea. My circle, I am just going to sort of decide which leaves are going to go where. And you can really get creative with this. You can do any kind of pattern that you want to. Just try to make it look interesting, you know, and you can always get the help of your parent if you need it. So I'm just going to film my process and fast forward through it. So one more thing that I forgot to mention is that if you do want this glued onto the paper, just use a glue stick or any kind of glue that you have on hand, and then that way you can really place the flowers, the leaves. The twigs might be a little bit harder, of course, to get with a glue stick. So this is pretty much my end product here. I glued a lot of leaves down. Some of them do kind of try to lift back up from the paper. And if they do that, I would recommend just adding a little bit more glue and then just holding it down for a while, and eventually it should stick a little bit better. Something that you will notice is that after a couple of days, some of the leaves that are more green, they're still alive, they will start to turn colors. They might start to turn brown. They will fade a little bit. They'll lose some of their moisture, so they'll become a little bit more dry. I suspect that this flower looks like it had just been probably just fallen off of their flower bush a few days ago. I suspect that that one will start to brown a little bit as well. But it's just interesting to see how it changes over time. And then after I was pretty happy with my mandala, I decided to color around it with just what I had on hand, just these little highlighters. So you can paint on top of the flowers, you can paint around the flowers, anything like that. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give a thumbs up. Let me know what it was like walking around in your neighborhood and looking for, you know, leaves and flower petals, twigs, rocks that you found on the ground in your neighborhood, in your backyard, anywhere. And subscribe to the Project Create YouTube channel. I would really love if you guys would take pictures of your finished artwork and email it to programs@projectcreatedc.org and put your class name as well as the title of whatever your art piece is. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to talking to you guys, getting another video out within the next couple of weeks.